Alright, hi everyone. Welcome to a bunch of very condensed tutorials. Today I'm going to be going through a bunch of tips and things that I have learned over a couple years about drawing. I'm not an expert or a professional or anything, but I've gotten these requests to do these tutorials, and so let's go ahead and get started. Now, I got a request to do a tutorial on graphite drawing. And I guess that has to do with fur. So, this is kind of on the fly, so I'm going to try to do my best here at telling you these things. So when it comes to drawing graphite fur, a very important thing to remember is that each singular fur, like hair, has two specific factors. It has shadow and it has light. If you keep these in mind, it'll really help you to create a realistic looking fur texture with graphite or charcoal, whatever you use. So what I basically do, I do not have graphite here at the moment, but I can sort of demonstrate with my with a regular pencil. I just go over it like this and start making a fur texture. Not sure if you can quite see that. Also, if any of you on the live stream wish to talk about art or anything, we can share tips and so forth and stuff like that. Okay, anyway, so I keep making fur like this. You don't want to make it super straight, and importantly, remember not to make the lines too big, because that's not going to look good. You need to it depends on what kind of fur you're making. I mean, if you're making straight fur, keep the hairs singular. But if you're doing more wavy fur, like cat fur or something like that, then try to make them curve into each other. You know, just do regular like that. Now, I would have originally done that with HB, and this pencil's a lot like HB, so it's roughly around the same kind of hardness. So after that, I would take a 2B. I don't have one, but I'm just demonstrating. I would take a 2B and I would go over it again on the same lines to accentuate the darkness. So just make sure to go over the same lines. Not all of them, but you see right now I'm creating shadow. Sorry, give me a second. I have to sharpen this pencil. Hi, Twisted Nightwing. Okay, so you want to start going over it with the dark like this with the 2B. And then once I have that, I'm not sure if you can quite see it. It's like that. I don't have chalk with me, unfortunately, but I would use that too. I would take a paper stump. Since I don't have one, I'll use my finger. I will Twisted Nightwing. I'm just going over the tutorials. I would take my finger and I would rub it in like that. See? And then I would take the 2B again and go over it again. This is creating the darkness. I don't think the camera's good enough for you to see properly. Yeah. Then you can take a darker pencil and go over it with that. There. Now you see, doing fur is all about, I'm not sure you can see that. Doing fur is all about building layers. So once you've done that, you go over it again. Don't be too concerned with drawing every individual hair. It takes a long time to do this. Like, it takes a while to draw all the individual. Just kind of like go over it in layers. That's I would consider fur with layers. But see, now I have this, but it's not going to look perfect because I don't have my graphite with me. But basically, you have this, and then what you want to do is you'll take a kneaded eraser and you'll start bringing out the highlights of the hair, because every single hair is going to have is going to have highlight. Now, because I can't draw that individually because this is condensed, but I am doing this as an overall amount. So I don't have it, so I'll take the pencil stub, and I'll just go over it lightly. Now, it may seem like I'm erasing it, but what I'm doing is the thank you, Nightwing. As soon as can't really see too well. You see that better? Well, basically, as soon as you've done that, I'm taking away the lightly pressed graphite. It's mainly the stuff I smudge with my finger that I'm taking away because that's going to come up the easiest. But so I'm bringing the highlights. And then after you're done with the highlights, you'll take your 2B and then you'll go over it again to bring out the darkness. Make sure always when you're doing this to go with the pattern. You never want to go against the pattern of the hair. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see that. It's really hard to see because the light is shining on the paper. But yeah, so that's how I do fur. Now, it gets a bit trickier when you're doing like white fur. I'm gonna try to demonstrate how I do that real quick. So suppose this is white ear fur. I do a bunch of long strokes. Hi, Subway. I do a bunch of long strokes like this. Now, of course, I don't have the graphite with me. It'd be a lot easier if I did. Now, what you want to do, never leave pure white in a drawing because that's unrealistic. Because no animal is pure white like that. What you want to do is make it dark first, and then take out some of the color with your eraser, and that'll make it like a creamy kind of white. So I'm gonna go like this, and just like I did with that fur, I'm gonna go over it and darken it. And then I'm gonna smudge it with my finger a little bit. I did the other one a little too much. Thank you, Nightwing. Okay, it's on my finger now. Okay, that's done. Now what you want to do, I'm going to go over it again. Because remember, the graphite that I smudged there is going to come off the easiest with the eraser. So these hard strokes I'm putting on now will they will stay when I use the other stuff. I really wish you could see this. The webcam's not picking it up. But at least I can give you instructions on how to do this, because you guys have seen my graphite drawings before. Okay, so I have that, and now I'm going to take the eraser, and I'm going to do it a little more than usual, because I want this to be white fur. Make sure always to go with the strokes, because this is, you never want to go against the strokes. I have not yet mastered the way of doing it without that, but like you can do some strokes that are against it, but it's still really difficult. Okay, I have now made it like a light color. You see, like, I mean, even if this fur is white, it's still gonna have some shadow to it. So I've got that. Then I'm gonna go over it again. I'm gonna accentuate the darkness. If you keep those two factors in mind, the light and the dark, you'll always be able to figure out how it's going to look, or how it should look. Then as you get near the base, you want to do more. So it looks gray again. So I'm going to highlight it a little bit more. Okay, so that's a way to do white fur. I know it looks gray right now, but that's because it's compared to the white fur here. If you're drawing like a black cat or a brown cat or whatever, and the ear fur is white, this is really going to look much lighter in color compared to the rest of the fur. Because in all honesty, a cat's ear's fur is not perfectly white anyways. Okay, so that's long fur. Now I'm going to go over a little bit about very individual furs, so you can kind of gather a bigger idea of how I'm doing this. Basically, so I'm doing the strokes like this. These are really long fur strokes. Okay, suppose I have that. You see, suppose this is a hair. I know it doesn't look like it, but each individual hair, okay, pretend these are all hairs, okay? It's gonna have darkness, like right here, because that's the underneath. It's gonna be a normal color right here, a little lighter, but normal, because that's the color of the fur, and then right here, around here, you're going to have highlights, because fur is reflective. So you do that, and if you remember that it's dark and it's light at the same time, you can kind of figure out that when I'm doing this and I'm adding darkness, what I'm really doing is just adding the shadow underneath of the I'm just adding the shadow of the hairs. Even clumpy hair, like not every individual hair has to have shadow. If it's clumpy, then the whole clump is going to have shadow. So yeah, that's basically how I do it. I wish this was a better pencil, but I do not have graphite to demonstrate this. Then you just add the shade. It's like that. With a lot of practice, you can get it. I mean, it really comes pretty easily if you just keep practicing it. It's just the concept. Okay, so that's fur. Are there any more things I need to go over with for graphite? Okay, eyes. Do not ask me about eyes. They are the hardest thing in the world, but I'm going to try and tell you anything I know that could be helpful. For my cat eyes, I kind of make a circle like this, and then I make another circle like that. That's just one kind of eye, though. There's so many others. Then I would go like that, and then you kind of have a cat eye like right there. Just some things to remember about the eyes. There are veins, or I don't know what they're called, but there's veiny-like things in the eyeballs. But you probably don't want to start drawing those until you master the eye itself, because if you do, it's going to look strange. Remember, around a cat's eye, at least, there's a lot of darkness. Like, this whole thing should be covered. It's kind of like, you know, the black gums of a cat. It needs to be really dark. Like, I do not have any charcoal, but as dark as possible. It is pretty much black in color. So I'm going to surround this. There. It's not as dark as I'd like, but I do not have charcoal. Okay, so now once you're doing that, just keep this separate, okay? Like this eye, the pupil. Now, what you want to do is you take your pencil and very lightly make this gray. I do not have the stump, but the stump itself, if it's been used before, will darken it a lot darker than the color you put there initially, because it's already got a bunch of old charcoal and stuff on it. If you have a new stump, then that's different. But so I'm going to go over it very lightly. Like that. And then you use my finger and rub that all in. Then I'm going to darken this outline again. If your stump by any chance happened to touch the eye, the line around the eye, then that's going to actually lighten it in color. Because if it's dark already and you put the stump on it, it's going to become it's going to become lighter. Okay, so I've done that. And now I'm going to get started on the iris. Okay, so this is where it becomes a little difficult. You need to add shadow around the eyes, because remember, it's kind of like this, like from an outward perspective. It's like that. So pupils here, and it's all elevated. So there's going to be shadow right there and right there. So in this case, just take your pencil and lightly go over it. Then rub that in a little bit. And go over it again, because it makes it lighter in color. Then bring that around and go for the other side. Okay, so now you have the eyeshadow. Just mix it in a little bit. It's blotchy. It's not going to be all one color. Then I'm going to add some more darkness around the liner. Okay. I'm not going to add the shine just yet. Just don't draw it in like that. It has to be all varied, because the eyeball is a very interesting thing. It's not going to be like all straight like that. And we are going to lighten it up. Okay, hoping you can see that. It's all pretty much the same color right now. Hi, Weird Animations. Okay, so I'm going to darken it a little bit more on the around here. Yes, I can sing Nightwing. Thank you. Me? What? I can't sing right now. Okay. So remember to keep it varied. The pupil itself is going to be pretty I don't want to say blended, but it honestly depends on the animal. I mean, a human's pupil isn't blended, but it will be on certain cats. Like a blue-eyed cat, for example, their pupil seems to blend into the surrounding iris. And remember, there is always like a spider-like web of strings around the pupil. Okay. The darkness isn't really showing up. You know, Twisted Nightwing, I do have videos of me singing on my channel. In fact, my original piece is on the front cover, on the front page. Okay, there we go. There. Now I think you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it when I go like that. Okay. I can't darken the lining enough, but normally you want to make that lining really dark, like far darker. What is Ellen, Nightwing? Okay, now we're gonna get to the shining. So the places you left, go ahead and shine. Oh, thank you. I can't really sing right now though because I'm doing these tutorials. Don't be afraid to let the shine go into the dark parts of the eye, but never venture too far. Again, this is all being done with regular pencil, which is difficult. Okay. I don't think my voice is worthy of that. Okay, now we're going to do this. Before you start filling it in, draw 2 little circles, or how many you want. That's going to be the shine in the eyeball, in the pupil. Hi, Shaysta. You want to do that first because the pupil is going to end up being so dark that you won't be able to lighten it. Normally, I would say to do that, but you can't in this. What do you mean a single stream? Painted? Yeah, I have. I actually have some really old paintings posted in the channel. I can barely see this right now because it's shining like that. See? Do you kind of see it there? I actually don't use canvases because they're extremely expensive. Trying to get this visible. Maybe if I like... Okay, a singing stream? That's so weird, though. I couldn't just sing for an hour. Cool shade set. Okay. So that's pretty much it, except I have to add the thingies now. So this is a really delicate part because if you get it wrong, you can't really redo it. Never add too many. Never overdo it in this step. Just add the lines. And remember, a cat's eye, they have those vibrant lines. They can even be red sometimes. I've seen them red in a blue cat's eye. I'm sorry. Cat's blue eye. Okay, I'm hoping you can all see that. Yeah. Okay, anyways. I'm gonna bring this back down. See, do I have any on? You know, that's actually a lot better. Is that too dark for you guys? I don't think I've had hate. I mean, I've had rude comments and such, but I don't think I've ever had hate on my channel. Is that too dark for you guys to see? Because the light was, like, shining against the paper and I couldn't see properly. Cool. Okay, I'm curious if I have done everything necessary to talk about graphite. Okay, I'm going to turn this on temporarily so I can see. Okay. You know, actually, Nightwing, your art does look a lot like hers. Not saying you're tracing or anything, but it's cool. She has good art. Okay, noses. Noses are not actually... Well, if you're drawing the sensors, then they are extremely difficult. Shade Step, I have been drawing as long as I've been alive. But I have only been drawing, like, trying to be professional since about 5 years ago, I think. 4 or 5, something like that. Okay, noses. So when you draw a cat's nose, you kind of want to go like this. Like, make sure to have the nostril there. It's kind of like a wing. And then the hardest part is making it equal on the other side. Okay. Okay, so you want to draw a nose like that. And that's a bit off, but there's a line right here that's like dark black like that, and it's gonna start. You see, this is leading on from the mouth. See, because it goes down like that and it goes into the mouth. The line here is very thick. It's a lot like the lip in color. So bring up the black like that and make it like extend and fade off into the sides. Now what you want to do is this is going to be a very smooth process. So not smooth process, but you want it to be smooth, this part. So take your pencil and lightly shade it like this. Then, with my finger, I'm going to smear it all in. Because whatever you do, you want it to be smooth. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to start adding some shading to the ends. So you gotta remember, like, the position of the nose, it juts out the very middle. Like that. Then go along the ends. Now, remember, guys, in the chat, this is also a discussion for tips because I'm doing these tutorials right now. But if you have any input or things that you've learned on the way, just tell them and I will say them in the video. Like if you've learned anything about this, go ahead and feel free to speak. Okay. Now right here in the very middle, it's going to curve in a little bit. So you want to, there's a little line there, very faint. And then actually right here, the very tip, it tends to be a thick black line. And on the very other side, the fur is going to start growing. There. Okay, now I'm going to continue to add the shadow. Just like the eye, I'm going to have the shadow circle all the way around. Then go ahead and mix it in. A little bit though, not too much. Luckily for me, this paper's kind of granular, so it helps trying to show the nose smell receptors. Okay, but now what you want to do is fill in the nostrils. Like that. And the nose is just such a different feature compared to the hair on the outside that don't worry about outlining it, because it is so different. It's going to be very different. Now I'm going to add a little bit more darkness around the ends because mixing it in like that made it turn lighter. Wow, I've only done 30 minutes. I've already done 30 minutes, and I have to finish these tutorials. But yeah, you wanted a tutorial on graphite. So then basically you're gonna start the fur right there. So that's a cat nose, and that's a cat eye. Just remember that a lot of the noses, if you're doing big cats or something, they vary a lot. Like some of them can be really thin, others like a lynx can be literally that shape, like that. They're all different. You kind of just have to memorize how the features are for each big cat. I mean, that's why they all look different. Okay, I think that pretty much covers the graphite tutorial. I finished it in 34 minutes. The next thing I'm supposed to do is horses. So horses will be the next tutorial. Okay, so let's get started. Horses are by far one of the hardest animals to draw in the world. I think many of you that have tried that have seen that. It's pretty self-evident. But in this case, I'm just going to teach you the things that I've learned from drawing horses. I've been drawing them for around 4 to 5 years. And these are just the little tips and things that I've learned on the way. So when you draw a horse, it's easy to think that they're like bricks, like really hard and not that flexible, but in reality they are extremely flexible. Just keep that in mind. Another thing is I'm going to give you a basis for drawing these things, but just remember that it also depends on the breed. Like, a horse with super short legs could look strange, but it might be realistic because there are breeds out there, like draft ponies and so forth, that have really small, thick legs. So, like people, there's a lot of variety in drawing these creatures. But I will give you I will give you the best thing that I know, because I have a bunch of books by this famous artist called Walter Foster, and he has a book that's been edited and so forth, but it has these little tips and stuff to help you draw these. So first things first, the back. The back is always what I start out with. Normally for an animal you start out with the head because that gives it stuff, but honestly, I learned how to draw the head based on the leg because everything's intertwined. So remember that the back starts out with a nice, long, basically line. Make sure it follows that. I'm also going to be going through the anatomy. Now, horses have a thing that most animals don't have. It's called withers. They are not the shoulder blades. A cat does have, like, this. Like, it does have a bump. But those are not withers. The withers is actually an extension of the backbone. It's not actually the shoulder blades. That's why they move on a cat and they don't move on animals like deer, goats, and horses. I do not know why they're there, but they're useful for riding. Okay, so you want to start. Never make the rear higher than the withers. That's just an important point right there. It will look weird if you do that. So I'm going to start with the withers right here and make a nice slope in the back, come up, and then you hit the hips. No, I have not watched that Wolf of the Night. So make sure it's not high. And then come around like that. And just leave it like that. That's just the beginning. The starting point. Okay. Now, there's so many important things I have to say about this. I spent so long studying horses' anatomy. There's really a lot to say about it. Now, the withers start here. There is a bump here. This is basically the withers right here. Oh, certainly kawaii. We are drawing a horse shade step. So the withers are right here. They are going to be hidden from the neck muscle when I extend it out here. But right here, at the very end of the withers, a straight line down, that's where the legs are going to be. The front part of the horse is really difficult to get right because it just is. So you do that, and now I have a pointer for the legs. Now, when it comes to the back legs, I'm actually going to show you how the bone goes. It's a little different than what you might expect. This place right here is called the dock, and the bone goes here where you have the pelvis and everything. It goes here, down here, where you have the knee, because the knee is actually way up near the stomach. Then you go down here where you have your heel. Then you have the foot, and the horse is standing literally on his nails. So horses, their legs are a lot different and really weirdly shaped. The front legs are no better. The front legs go here. They go to the shoulder. That's actually the shoulder, even though it's like hidden. Then it goes down here. It meets. Oops, sorry. It meets in point at the stomach with the knee like that. See? It meets. Then it goes down. And this is where it gets strange. This right here is the elbow. But this right here, the middle joint, is actually the wrist. It looks really strange, but that is really weird how that happens. But so that's the wrist. And then this is where it gets even weirder. It goes down and hits another joint. And you'll never guess what that is. that is literally this part of the hand, that joint right there. And then the fingers are squished together. They're a hole. And then the nail is the hoof on the outside. So then it's going to go like that. And these right here are the fingers, literally. And then you have the hoof. So yeah, important things to remember for the leg anatomy of the horse. It's not shaped like your normal animal. That's the same with deer, horses, camels, all those weird cloven hooved animals. It's just weird. It's just the way they are. Okay, enough said about the legs. Let us continue. Now, a good way to a weird thing you have to remember here is that a horse is barrel-chested and barrel-stomached. Their stomachs are round, and very large usually. That's not true with all species, but I mean that's not true with all breeds. But for your average horse that you see out in the fields, this is what it's going to be like. I actually have to lengthen this a little bit. And for me, the hardest part of this is actually the front part. So I'm going to, the neck and the head. I'm going to deal with that in a minute. So it's very strange. The horse is literally walking on his nails, which is something a bit unexpected. Okay, now, a good way to remember how to do this. Oh, sorry. Okay, a good way to remember how to do this is just start here at the elbow. This is all messed up. Okay, that's good. Start at the elbow and curve up like that. And hit with the hip. That's what you want to do. And then you have the barrel chest shape. And then you want to go away from it like that and create the stomach. So the stomach is right there. Now, another important tip, the chest, if you circle it like that, should be as big. This is not always true because you got to remember some horses have very high withers and that can actually take away from the size. Not including the withers, the chest should be the size of the rear. I have seen horses where that's not true, but it's not common. So, we're going to make that. And I have not built the shoulders yet. Horse anatomy is very difficult. I'm going to keep the dock pointy just so I remember where it is. Because the dock is actually where the tail comes out. Okay, now we're going to get started on the legs. From the elbow to the end of the stomach should be the length of this to the hoof. And honestly, I'm going to make it a little bit longer because it's not that long. It should be longer. And I mean, as I tell you, these are just for your stereotypical horse because a lot of times horses can have longer or shorter legs. It's really such a variety. So I'm going to bring it down to here. And the hock, which is this right here on the front, because he's like that. So the hock is going to be this part, and the hock is going to be around right here. And once you hit the hock, which is the joint right before the hoof, from the hock to the elbow, it should be the halfway distance where the wrist is. Now I'm going to lengthen the knee. So if your horse is standing typical, you do not want the leg jutting out beyond this line. It shouldn't be farther than the dock. If it's too close in, then the horse's rear is going to look too big. So what you want to do is just create the knee and then the muscles. That's another really hard part. You have the knee here. The knee should circle around and meet up with the rest right there. Then you have the muscle right here, which, believe it or not, is actually it's actually your lower leg, like right before your ankle. That muscle right there is actually here, which is strange. Then what you want to do is shin. The shin is right here. Yes, this is the shin. Perfect. That's the word. So then what you want to do is make sure that the heel matches up with the wrist. So you can even draw a line if you wish. In fact, mine's a little off, so I'm going to lower it. Yeah, so it should be, I'm not drawing that correctly. It should be equal, like that. Now, draw a square, and that's going to be the heel. Then, you have the foot. The foot is very nice and straight. Bye, Shade Step. The foot is very nice and straight. It doesn't really have any, it's literally like a rectangle. Then, this right here, those are the fingers. You're welcome, Shade Step. And then you have right here the hoof. Yeah, so that is the back leg. Now we go to the front. This horse has pretty high withers. Oh, you know what? I forgot to elongate the back leg. Sorry. Gotta redo this. I actually don't have to redo all of it. Basically, it should be hitting down here. So, go down here. It's going to be that long. Sorry, it was not long enough. Then, the fingers. Then the hoof. Okay, that's long enough. Now, you come to the other section. And that will be the arm. Okay. So this is the elbow right here. Do not try to make a dent here, because horses very often keep their legs straight like that, and the elbow isn't going to really be evident unless he's moving. So there's a big muscle right here, and that would actually be this muscle right here on your arm. So just curve it around and stop there. Then you want to, like that, because you want to make it like straight like that, because the joint is very obvious. Then bring it up on the other side, bring it up, and then hit back again. It's important to, oh wait a second. Okay, actually, I forgot to follow this line. The shoulder is actually here. Okay, so we're gonna do this. See, I was just about to say, you gotta make sure, it's really important to make sure the leg is equal to the ends of the withers, because if it's not, then it's gonna look a lot like it's gonna look a lot like the horse is barrel chested, or the horse doesn't have enough chest. So that's the elbow. Give as much there as you need. Then right here. Okay. Now, you've done that, and now what you want to do is take this and come down again, and just like you did the back legs, you want to like cut it off. I mean, don't cut the leg off, but like make it a segment. And then, just like that, add the fingers and the hoof. And there we have the 2 legs. And now comes the hardest part ever. And that'll be the neck. I am not even too sure about this because the neck is the hardest part of the horse. But we're going to try to do it. I learned that from here to here, right where the stomach ends to the elbow, should be there. Now, a horse could have a perfectly flat neck like that if it's a nag, or it could have a really, really high arching neck if it's a stallion. I mean, that would be even more than that, but he would be crunching up his neck. Or it could just be like this, just normal. A lot of horses really have that flatness of the neck, but it's not a particularly nice style, so I'm not going to add it. Add a line right here because that's the end of the face. That's the beginning of the face. And then here's where it gets a little tricky because this, I don't know, it might even be a little bit too short. It's really hard to tell. Just remember that a horse's neck is gigantic because it has to reach all the way down here to graze. And actually, when it does that, it'll curve here, go all the way down here, and it'll literally be that thin. It works because it stretches, if that makes sense. I mean, considering how long a horse's neck is, you would think they'd have a lot of vertebrae in those necks. So I guess it makes sense. Okay, now we're going to stop it there. I'm running out of room for the face. Okay, now what you want to do is a little dip right there. The dip before the neck. Then carry it out and help it hit. I always have to do this a couple times. Don't bring it down so low that there's no room for the shoulder to appear, because there's got to be enough room for it. Yeah, so this neck has to be a little thinner. So do it like this, and then all the way down like that, and possibly take a little off there if necessary. We can't listen anymore. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we have the neck. I like to add some little lines here. Okay, we are almost finished with the horse. As I've said, the neck is the hardest part, the ultimate hardest part to deal with. So what you want to do, start out with like a trapezoid. It's not actually a trapezoid, but that should be as long as one of these leg segments, like this. I think might be a little too long. I mean, honestly, I've been drawing horses for a really long time, and I still have to keep going over them because it just takes so long to learn how to do this. Now, as I've said, this end is closer to the camera because the camera's tilted, so it should actually be like that because the camera is at an angle. So I hope you can see that properly. See, because like, so it should be there. Okay, now let's continue. So you have the end of the muzzle. Now, I'm not going to draw it here. This is just to give you the body references. I will draw the head in a second. So Yes, and the tail comes out here. Like that. Or not like that, but... Okay, I have officially given you the guidelines I have learned to draw horses with. A lot of times I just use super specific ones because you start to memorize them and employ them with your daily sketches and so forth. Like the ones I normally use is just this one, that one, and the head one. Other than that, the other ones you start to memorize. Okay, now I will give you one last, in regards to the horse, I will give you one last segment. I will give you one last segment for the face because I have just learned pretty much how to start doing faces okay, and they are really, really difficult, so I'm going to try my best here. So, you start out with the rectangle. You don't want this part being too thick, and you don't want it being, like, too thin. So, just quickly go along the edges, and then you want to dip down suddenly. Create the lips, and remember the lips are puckered. Then the second lip, then the chin, and then you want to zip back up again. Then you want a circle like that. It's even a little too big. I'm actually going to lower this nose a little bit more. Okay, pretend this is a draft horse, because that would be like that for a draft horse. There, that's better. Okay, so then never make the lips too pointy, but they are pretty pronounced. Then you want the top of the head to be like that, and the chin, the cheek I meant, the cheek should be circular, like that, and going all the way up to the ear. And I'm going to widen this a little bit more. The nostril of a horse is really large, so it's about that, around that. See, this again is being tilted a little bit, so I'm going to tilt it back so you can kind of see. Okay, now what you want to do is the ears. The ears are pretty difficult too. What you want to do, just give me these guidelines. The ears are like, you want to make a circle like that, another circle, and it goes like that, a little dip, and it goes like that. And then the very, like, let me put that right for you. See right there? The very corner of the head right here is where the ears should be, and the jaw should always lead up to the ears. So then what you want to do is add the ears. Make sure not to make them too big because then they'll look like a mule, and of course not too small. So just go like this. Even that honestly is a little small. Or I mean, not, it was a little. Their ears are not actually that big. I mean, they're an okay size. Okay, so we got the ears and the face and the neck. When you reach the jawline, you want it, it's very thin right there, but only for a second, and then extends out like that. The neck is really hard to get. Can you see that? Okay, now the eyes, this is a really strange part. The eyes I still have trouble with, but they're like circular like this. Then like that. They have many rolls over them like that. And then, this is the strangest part, their pupils are rectangles. As strange as that might sound, they are rectangles. So I'm going to draw that here. Make sure it's close up near the end of the face. Then the horse's face is very veiny. So you want to add all these. Just mess around with those. You can figure out how to do that. Okay, we are almost done with the horse tutorial. Then just go like that. Go like that. Then there's going to be a couple of rolls here because that's where it meets the shoulder. And then you have the withers. And then for the mane, just disperse it everywhere. And do what you want with that. And make sure it always comes out this end. Okay, an hour and we have finished 2 of the tutorials. And just so you can get one last look at that, I think we have enough time to finish the last tutorials in about 30 minutes. So we have to do a tutorial on wolves and on magical creatures. But I think that's it. Like, I just think that's all we have. Okay, so a tutorial on wolves and a tutorial on mystical creatures. Okay, let's get started. I do definitely not claim to be an expert at wolves because I've only been drawing them for like a week. Something like that. Not a week, but not very long. So I'm going to do my best to show you how to do this. I mean, just showing you the tips that I myself have picked up. So first things first, you start out with a circle, as you do with most animals. And if you're doing dogs, the back circle, unlike a horse or something, is actually going to be bigger. I'm sorry, it's going to be smaller, like that. And it's going to lead down. For a wolf, though, it's going to be pretty equal. So go like that. Now, it does not look equal in the film because, as I said, this camera is slightly tilted. So what you want to do is make it like that. Then, since it's like this, you want to be it very, very, like, make it all very round. Everything is round. I'm sorry, Thunder. I'm doing a wolf tutorial to the best of my ability because I do not really draw wolves. And of course, it's tilted again. It should be like that. Okay. So we're gonna do this and then go down, round it off, very round. I'm drawing a wolf that like goes into like the like it goes to like, you know, like a snow wolf or something. Not a snow wolf, for like not like an Arctic wolf, but like a wolf that lives in a colder climate. So it's gonna need thicker fur. Yeah, Nightwing, I'm sorry, but I got a request for this, so I'm doing the best I can. So then you draw stomach round like this, and then the shoulders. The neck for a wolf is very, very thick and fluffy. So you're going to round it off about like this. And then here's the strange part, is the legs are actually extremely skinny and straight. Not like a cat's. A cat's are more like this, with the paw, but like a wolf is more like straight. Can't see that. A wolf is more straight. And another thing is the wrist is extremely long in comparison with a cat. So I'm gonna do this. So you want to go like that, and take it up on the other side and draw straight up. Sure, Thunder. Do you want one right now, like in the stream? Okay, thank you, Twisted. I know that wolves in general have big paws because, I mean, I don't know of any wolves that don't live in a climate where it snows. And I know they always have to do that. So yes. Then the wrist is pretty big. I feel like I'm making this too long. Okay. I don't know why they're so big, but then I'm just gonna make the paws. Yeah, like Alaska and stuff like that. Dog paws are a lot like cheetahs, and that's why they're difficult. Remember that a dog can't retract its claws or anything, so they get worn out and dull because of that. Okay, so we got that. Now about the back legs. See, that's still kind of there. It should be like that because of the camera. Now, I am going to round it off. You want to be very round. There's a lot of muscle in the back legs of a dog or a wolf, so you just kind of want to make it round. And there's a lot of fluff behind. Like, they're not that round, but now remember, wolves are not a strong point with me, so I'm doing this just on request. The marathons? Cool. Okay, now a dog's hind foot is not going to be a lot like a horse. A horse is different, so you kind of just want that. It's a little inward based. I know these legs are a little long, but I'm going to extend the stomach a little more. Really? That's cool. Okay, I'm gonna actually shorten these legs. Oof. Okay, anyways, they're gonna have nice floofy tails. And their necks are extremely thick. Like literally really, really thick with fur. Stuff like that. But another thing is they have small ears in comparison to the dogs. So, and they're small and thick ears. Then with the face, I'm just going to go down like that. And cut it off like that. Muzzle should probably be a bit bigger. Wolves of the night. Since you draw wolves all the time, is there anything you'd like to add that I can say? Any tips or anything for this tutorial? What's the Temple of Doom art challenge? I will. I mean, like, do you have any overall tips for correct proportions, stuff like that you'd like to give the Temple of Doom's holding an art contest? Wow, I might actually check that out. I probably wouldn't win, but it'd be fun to participate. I mean, like, is there any other tips that you'd like to give for this tutorial? Since I'm not actually an avid drawer of wolves. Oh, you mean like you? Okay, that's my version of a wolf. And this is very sideways. Okay, those are my tips for wolves. If there's any additions that anyone would like to add for wolves, go ahead. And now we must continue to mystical and magical creatures tutorial. I am pretty sure this is the last tutorial I have to do. Yeah, Wolves of the Night. You have anything to add? Man, my voice is getting tired. Can you help with what? What do you mean the depth of it? That's true though. The fur on the head, there is a lot. Oh, me too, Walkwise. Okay. Okay, things to remember: big paws, lots of fur on the head, long neck. You may not think a dog has a long neck, but it actually does, because it just does. The neck, I mean, like a horse, the neck has this unique ability to stretch all the way down to the ground. Yeah, Wolves of the Night, I can tell by your channel and your username. Okay, I'm getting tired, so I'm going to move on to the next tutorial. This tutorial is going to be about mystical and magical creatures. Not quite sure why I was asked to do this, because such a thing is, I mean, considering they're not actually animals in the first place, they're not real. I mean, they vary. They vary a lot. But so I can't give you any structure guidelines or anything like that to do that. But I will try my best to give some helpful insight on this particular subject. Let me quickly go sharpen my pencil. Okay, yeah. Wolves of the Night, that is a good suggestion. Dragons, because I got asked this on a dragon picture I had gotten this request, and I had also gotten this request from a Griffin video, I think. So I'm gonna do my best. And also made up creatures. We'll add it all. I mean, this is just a discussion of art. We can we can just figure out what we're doing. And, you know, I mean, if you just hear someone else's opinion, I mean, of course, I never want to make anyone draw like I do, because you all got to figure out your own way of doing it. Because if everyone drew, like, perfectly, I guess it would all look the same. It'd all be like photographs. But anyways, everyone draws differently, and we're going to try this. Just remember that these are make-believe animals. There is no correct proportion unless your head is literally the size of the body, but otherwise it's not really going to be that different. So yeah, let's get started. I don't even know how to begin this because they're so varied. You have Chinese dragons, water dragons, fire dragons, everything under the sun. But I guess I can give you some insight on things that I've learned drawing dragons. I guess I'll just start. So what I do is I will add like a little bit of flesh there. I guess that's what it's called. I don't know what it is, but I've just seen it in drawing, so I'm adding it. And then I'll add like a cat's eye. That's true though. If you Twisted Nightwing, if that's from the Wings of Fire series, I've actually never seen that. I think the most I'm going to be able to help you out on is pretty much the wings. Because, let's face it, wings are really hard. They're hard for everyone. And this is all just my idea of how dragons look. I sort of just add, like, whatever this is. Okay, so I'm gonna add that. Nightwing. Actually, no. I do not actually, oh, I mean, the people I know I don't really, like, show them any art, so I guess they don't really, I mean, I just don't really know. But, when it comes to dragons, it's just such a varied subject. You can really do anything. I mean, that's one thing that's really fun about mystical creatures, is you can literally create anything, because they're not limited to just one way of doing it. Especially since over the years, thousands of dragon breeds and so forth have been made up and stuff like that, and yeah. So I'm just telling you my particular way of drawing dragons. So when it comes to the arms, I like to make them thin, almost like a human arm, but not quite. Like, thin to where it doesn't look like a cat arm or something. Like something like this. Yeah, something like that. Long and thin like that. And then I give them like hands, but like clawed hands. I've officially been drawing today for 3.5 hours. I'm so tired, but that's okay. Oh yeah, that's another thing. If dragons were to breathe fire, it would kind of make sense that they had a really big chest, and not only that, but they would need one to gather the oxygen they need to power those giant wings. Hi, Kalfu. So, something like that. Okay. Then I would give them really small waists, and then when it came to here, the legs, I guess I would say it looks a lot like a lizard. Oh, I'm running out of room. But like a lizard, it would like go up like this. Trying to show you. Kind of like a lizard, I guess. Actually, I'm gonna erase that. Yeah, so I would give them a barrel chest. And then with that, and it's gonna be, I can't even show you, but it's gonna be something like that. So I'm gonna finish up real quick. Now the wings, in order to power such a large creature, the wings are literally gonna have to be giant. And not only that, but they're gonna have to be so muscular. So I like to start the wings right around the withers, if they were horses, what they would have, and then just make this part giant. Like, it's literally gonna be huge. And then I would add some tail stuff here. And then I would bring it around here and add some more tail stuff. You know, kind of like How to Train Your Dragon. Okay, we are almost finished. I will just have to go through how the wings work. See, Okay. You can see properly? That's kind of like how I did this dragon. So, last things I'm going to say on this is, just about the wings. A funny thing about drawing animals is that even though there's so many different kinds of like skeletons and so forth, they all pretty much follow the basic structure. Like, how would you feel if I told you that, I mean, you might already know this, but the wing is pretty much basically the arm and the hand. Pretty much. That's all it is. You probably already know that. But, like, I'll give you an example. Like, since I couldn't finish in the other picture, I'll show you a drawing of a dragon wing. This right here would be the shoulder. It would extend out like that. And then where it hit like that, that would be the elbow. Then it would hit the wrist. And then these would literally be the fingers. And then it would come around like that. It would have webbing. Then it would go like that, see? So it's basically the fingers and the hands. Like in the same way as like a wing. Like you have a bird and so forth. But inside, there's actually a bone that juts right here, which is like a finger. Then it curves. It goes like that. It goes like that. See, because this is the elbow. This is the shoulder. This is the wrist. And these are the hands and fingers. So it's all related, this kind of stuff. And it's absolutely fascinating how, like, even with a horse whose legs look totally different from anything else, it actually is all relative and related. So overall, when it comes to this kind of stuff, just practice, just work at it. I know you all know this, but it just sort of comes with practice and time, I guess. But yeah, this has been a superbly long video. This is the second live stream I've done today. The other one was 2 hours. This one was an hour and a half. So I have been drawing for 3.5 hours, and I am tired. I hope you enjoyed these. We went through tutorials of graphite, of horses, wolves, and mystical creatures. Those are the 4 things we went through. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream, and hopefully I'll be able to host another one next week. I hope also that the information was helpful in any way, and if so, then it was really good. Alrighty, now I'm going to end the stream. I will see you all later, the next time I host a live stream. So, bye!